Observer Krelthar stood before the viewing screen in his quarters aboard the Viridian observation vessel. The ship hung in space above Mars, invisible to every human sensor below. His scaled hands moved across the control panel with practiced ease as he reviewed his new assignment. After 15 cycles serving the Viridian Empire as a military analyst, he had finally received what he considered a truly important task. He was ordered to watch humans in battle. The data file before him contained everything his species had gathered about Earth and its expanding colonies. Humans had achieved faster-than-light travel only 40 cycles ago, remarkably fast for such a young species. They had spread to 3 planets and 7 orbital stations. They built cities and farms on hostile worlds. They sent their young into dangerous space to claim new territory. But the Empire needed to know one crucial thing before making first contact. How did humans fight? Krelthar felt certain he already knew the answer. Every species fought the same way when stripped down to basics. They killed or were killed. They showed strength or were consumed by those who did. The strong survived and the weak perished. This was the law of the universe. Humans would be no different. The door to his quarters opened with a soft hiss. Sivrine entered, carrying her own data tablet. She was younger than Krelthar, her scales still bright green where his had faded to dark olive with age. She had been assigned as his research partner for this mission. "Have you reviewed the combat scenarios available for observation?" Sivrine asked. Her voice carried the eager tone of someone new to field analysis work.
"I have,"
Krelthar replied. He gestured to the screen where a list of ongoing human military operations scrolled past.
"There are 16 active conflict zones across human territory.
Most involve small disputes over resources or defense against raider attacks. Which will you choose? Krelthar pulled up a specific file. Mars Colony 7. A human military base protecting a civilian settlement of approximately 8,000 individuals. Intelligence reports indicate a raider group called the Skrin has been hitting supply lines in that sector. The humans have deployed a tactical response team.
Sivrine studied the information. The raiders outnumber the human defenders significantly.
3-1, by current estimates.
Exactly, Krelthar said with satisfaction. This will show us how humans respond to disadvantage.
Do they fight bravely but foolishly? Do they retreat and preserve resources? Do they sacrifice the weak to save the strong? These questions will help the Empire determine whether humans are potential allies or simple obstacles to expansion. He did not say what he truly believed. Humans would likely prove themselves to be emotional and inefficient fighters. The Empire would then have justification to absorb their worlds under Viridian protection. It was how things worked. The strong guided the weak, or removed them entirely if they refused guidance. The 2 analysts moved to the main observation bay. The room stretched 20 meters across, dominated by a massive viewing screen that could display everything their sensors detected. Krelthar activated the long-range scanners and focused them on the human military base below. The base appeared on screen in perfect detail. It was built into the rust-colored rocks of Mars, a collection of domes and underground structures, connected by enclosed tunnels. Human spacecraft sat on landing pads like sleeping birds. Tiny figures in pressure suits moved between buildings, going about their daily tasks.
Initiate individual tracking, Krelthar ordered the computer. Focus on the tactical response team preparing for deployment.
The view shifted to show the interior of a briefing room. 6 humans sat around a table while a 7th stood at the front, pointing to a holographic map. The computer helpfully translated their spoken language and displayed subtitles below the image. The standing human was Lieutenant Daniel Hayes, according to the identification files Viridian Intelligence had compiled. He was in his early 30s by human age measurement, with short brown hair and a strong jaw. He wore the dark blue uniform of the Mars Colonial Defense Force.
"Listen up, everyone," Daniel said to his team. "We have 23 colonists trapped at Research Station Delta."
The scrin hit them hard 2 days ago. Most of the station staff evacuated, but these folks got cut off when the raiders damaged the main transport hub. A woman with red hair pulled back in a tight bun leaned forward. Corporal Amy Watson. The file identified her.
"What is the raider strength at the station?" "At least 30 scrin, possibly more," Daniel replied. "They are using the station as a staging point for additional raids."
Our mission is to extract the trapped colonists and deny the enemy that forward position. Krelfar watched carefully, noting everything. The human leader spoke with authority, but not aggression. Interesting. A younger man raised his hand. Private First Class Kevin Torres, barely past 20 human years.
"Sir, 30 against 6 seems like rough odds."
Daniel smiled, though Krelfar could not interpret the emotion behind the expression.
"It would be rough if we planned to fight them head-on." "We are not going to do that. We are going in smart."
"We extract our people and get out. Fighting is the last resort, not the first option."
"Weakness," Sivreen muttered beside Krelfarv. "He admits inferiority before battle even begins."
Krelfarv said nothing. But he had marked the same observation. A Viridian commander would never show such doubt to subordinates. It damaged morale and invited challenge to authority. Another woman spoke up. This was Sergeant Lisa Morgan, listed as the team medic. She appeared older than the others, perhaps 40, with gray strands visible in her dark hair.
"What is the status of the trapped colonists?"
"Any injuries we should prepare for?"
"Unknown,"
Daniel said.
"Communication has been spotty."
"We know they are alive and have basic supplies. Beyond that, we will assess when we arrive. Lisa, bring everything you have. This might get complicated." The medic nodded and made notes on her tablet. The briefing continued for another 20 minutes. Daniel outlined approach vectors, communication protocols, and fallback positions. He asked each team member for input. He listened to their concerns. He adjusted plans based on their suggestions. Krelfar found this behavior bizarre. In Viridian military structure, commanders commanded, subordinates obeyed. This collaborative approach seemed inefficient and time-consuming. Yet the human team appeared to appreciate it. They responded with focus and determination rather than resentment. When the briefing ended, the team dispersed to gather equipment. Krelfar ordered the computer to track them individually. He watched Amy Watson check her weapons with methodical care, testing each system 3 times. He watched Kevin Torres help another soldier load supply crates, laughing at some joke Krelfar did not understand. He watched Lisa Morgan pack her medical equipment, her face serious and concentrated, and he watched Daniel Hayes stand alone in the briefing room for a moment, staring at the holographic map. The human leader's expression showed something Krelfar had trouble identifying. Concern? Fear? Determination? Perhaps all 3. "They joke and laugh before battle," Sivreen observed. "They show emotion openly." They questioned their commander. "These are signs of poor discipline." "Document everything," Krelfar said. "Let the evidence speak for itself." The team assembled at the landing bay an hour later. They wore armored pressure suits, colored in dark gray and red. Each carried a rifle and various equipment packs. They boarded a small transport craft, designed for quick insertions. Daniel performed a final check of his team.
"Comms check. Everyone sound off."
One by one, the team members confirmed their communication systems worked. Krelfar noticed Daniel waited for each person to respond before moving to the next. He did not rush. He did not show impatience when Kevin Torres had to adjust his headset twice before getting a clear signal.
"All right," Daniel said when all checks were complete. "Remember the mission.
We get our people out. We do it smart. We watch each other's backs. Questions? No one spoke. Good. Let us bring them home. The transport lifted off from the landing pad, thrusters glowing bright in the thin Martian atmosphere. Krelfar adjusted sensors to follow its flight path toward Research Station Delta, 300 kilometers to the north. The observation vessel's computer estimated 42 minutes until the humans reached their destination. Krelfar settled into his chair to wait and watch. Beside him, Severine prepared recording equipment to capture everything that would happen. "What do you think we will see?" she asked quietly. Krelfar considered the question. He thought about the humans laughing before battle. He thought about their commander asking for input instead of simply giving orders. He thought about the medic's concerned face and the young soldier's nervous question about odds. "I think," he said slowly, "we will see what we always see. Beings trying to survive in a dangerous universe. They will fight or flee. They will make choices. Some will live and some will die. It is the way of all species." But even as he spoke these words, something small nagged at his mind. Something about how the humans interacted felt different from what he had observed in other species. He could not identify what it was exactly. Not yet. The transport disappeared beyond a ridge of mountains, heading toward whatever awaited at Research Station Delta. Krelfar watched the tracking display and waited for the battle to begin. He had no idea that in a few short hours he would understand exactly why he had been ordered to watch humans in battle, and why he would regret it for the rest of his life. The human transport descended through the thin Martian atmosphere, approaching Research Station Delta from the east. Krelfar watched the sensor displays with focused attention. His scaled fingers moved across the controls, adjusting viewing angles to capture every detail of what was about to unfold. Research Station Delta sat in a shallow canyon, partially sheltered by rocky outcrops on 3 sides. The facility consisted of 5 interconnected domes and several smaller structures for equipment storage. Normally it housed 30 researchers studying Martian geology and potential terraforming sites. Now it served as a temporary fortress for Skrin raiders. The Skrin were a species the Viridian Empire knew well. They traveled in small packs, hitting soft targets for supplies and equipment they could sell on black markets. They stood slightly taller than humans, with thick gray skin and powerful builds. They carried energy weapons scavenged from a dozen different civilizations. They were brutal, but not particularly clever fighters. "Raider count confirmed at 32, Severine reported, reading her instruments. "They have established defensive positions around the main dome. The tracked human colonists are being held in the Eastern Research Wing." Krelfar nodded. "The Skrin outnumber the human team more than 5 to 1. Standard tactical doctrine would suggest the humans should call for reinforcements, or withdraw." "But they are proceeding anyway," Severine said. She sounded puzzled. "Why would they accept such disadvantage? We will soon discover their reasoning." The human transport did not approach the station directly. Instead, it landed behind a ridge formation 2 kilometers away, using the terrain to mask its arrival. The 6 team members disembarked quickly and efficiently, spreading into a defensive formation while Daniel surveyed the area through electronic binoculars. Krelfar switched to close-range sensors, bringing the humans into sharp focus on the viewing screen. He could see their faces through the transparent faceplates of their helmets. Amy Watson looked calm and alert. Kevin Torres showed tension in his shoulders, but kept his weapon ready. Lisa Morgan checked her medical pack one final time. "Watson, take point with sensors," Daniel said over the communication channel. "Find us a route and that keeps us off their scanners." Amy moved forward, holding a small device that swept the ground ahead. She advanced carefully, testing each approach, and then signaled the team forward. They moved in pairs, covering each other's advancement with practiced coordination. "Interesting," Krelfar murmured. "They show more caution than I expected." The team reached a position overlooking the research station. Daniel gathered them behind a cluster of rocks and pulled up a holographic map on his wrist display. The others crowded close to see. "All right, here is the situation," Daniel said quietly. "The colonists are in this section here." He pointed to the eastern dome.
The Skrin have guards posted at every entrance. We cannot go through the front door. What about the maintenance tunnels? Lisa asked, studying the map.
"A station's specs show an underground access network for life support systems." Daniel nodded. "That was my thought too."
The tunnel entrance is here, about 300 meters from our position. If we can reach it without being spotted, we can come up inside their perimeter.
"And if we get spotted?" Kevin asked. His voice carried an edge of worry.
"Then we adapt," Daniel replied simply. "But let us try not to get spotted."
"Silent approach, weapons on standby only. We are rescuers, not invaders. Remember that." Krelthar found this instruction strange.
Why make a distinction? The mission required entering hostile territory.
Violence seemed inevitable. Yet the human commander spoke as if fighting could be avoided entirely. The team moved out again, descending the slope toward the maintenance tunnel entrance. They spread wider now, maximizing their ability to spot threats while minimizing their profile. Amy continued scanning ahead, while a soldier named Marcus Chen watched their rear approach. They had covered half the distance when a Skrin patrol emerged from behind a storage building. 3 raiders, walking casually and talking among themselves. They had not yet seen the humans. The 2 groups were on a collision course, seconds away from contact.
"Down," Daniel hissed. "Everyone down, now!"
The human team dropped into prone positions behind whatever cover they could find. Amy pressed herself behind a small boulder. Kevin squeezed into a depression in the rocky ground. Lisa lay flat beside a piece of broken equipment, not even breathing. The Skrin patrol walked closer. 20 meters. 15. 10. Krelthar leaned forward in his seat, fascinated. The humans had clear shots. They could eliminate the patrol before the raiders could react. Standard military doctrine suggested removing threats immediately when surprise was available. Yet none of the humans fired. The Skrin patrol passed within 5 meters of Kevin's position. One of the raiders stopped, looking around slowly. His weapon was unslung, ready for use. He stared directly at the area where the humans hid. Krelthar's datapad showed Kevin's heart rate spiking. The young soldier's finger rested on his weapon's trigger, waiting. One word from his commander, and he would fire. But Daniel said nothing. The Skrin raider grunted something to his companions and moved on. The patrol continued past the human positions and disappeared around another building. They had never detected the intruders. "Clear," Amy whispered after a long moment.
"They are gone. Move quickly," Daniel ordered. "That was too close."
The team reached the maintenance tunnel entrance without further incident. It was sealed with a locked hatch, but Marcus produced a cutting tool and made quick work of the mechanism. One by one, the humans dropped into the dark tunnel below. Amy went first, then Kevin, then Lisa. Daniel went last, pulling the hatch closed behind them. Inside the tunnel, the team activated lights mounted on their helmets. The narrow passage stretched in both directions, pipes and cables running along the walls. The air was stale but breathable.
"This way," Daniel said, consulting his map.
"Stay tight and stay quiet. We are inside their perimeter now." They moved through the tunnel in single file. Their boots made soft sounds on the metal floor despite their attempts at stealth. Water dripped somewhere in the darkness. The tunnels felt claustrophobic, even through the viewing screen. Krelthar watched them navigate several intersections, choosing paths that led toward the eastern dome where the colonists were trapped. The humans spoke in whispers now, only essential communications. Their discipline had improved markedly since entering danger.
"Hold!"
Amy said suddenly. She raised one fist, the signal to stop. I hear something ahead. Everyone froze. In the silence, Krelthar enhanced the audio sensors. He heard it too. Voices, speaking the harsh language of the Skrin. They have guards in the tunnels, Lisa whispered.
That is not on any of the station schematics, smart of them, Daniel replied quietly. They are learning.
How many, Watson? Amy closed her eyes, concentrating on the sounds. At least 2. Maybe 3.
30 meters ahead, past that next junction. Daniel considered their options. We need to get past them. Suggestions? We could double back and find another route, Marcus offered. That will add 20 minutes to our timeline, Kevin said. The colonists might not have 20 minutes. We could engage the guards, Amy said reluctantly. Take them quietly before they can raise alarm.
Daniel shook his head. Last resort.
If we start dropping bodies, this becomes a shooting war. I want to avoid that if possible.
Lisa, do you still have those sedative injectors? The medic patted one of her pouches.
Always, but I would need to get very close to use them.
Within arm's reach.
Then that is what we will do. Watson, Chen, you are with me. We get close, we put them to sleep, we move on. Torres, you and Lisa stay here. If this goes wrong, you get to the colonists without us and complete the mission.
Understood? Kevin started to protest, but stopped himself.
Understood, sir.
Krelthar watched as 3 humans crept forward through the tunnel, while 2 remained behind. This was madness. They were dividing their already small force against superior numbers. They were attempting a non-lethal approach when lethal force would be simpler and more certain. Every choice Daniel made seemed designed to increase difficulty and risk.
He's going to get them all killed, Severine said flatly. This is absurd tactical planning.
But Krelthar said nothing. He was beginning to suspect there was something he was missing. Some factor in human thinking that did not match Viridian logic. Daniel, Amy, and Marcus rounded the corner where the Skrin guards waited. Krelthar switched to an overhead sensor view that could see through the tunnel ceiling. 3 Skrin raiders sat on supply crates, weapons across their laps, talking and occasionally laughing at some shared joke. The humans approached with impossible silence. Amy moved like liquid shadow. Marcus controlled his breathing to barely a whisper.
Daniel held a sedative injector in each hand, the medical devices looking tiny and inadequate against armed raiders. They got within 3 meters before one of the Skrin sensed something was wrong. The raider began to turn, reaching for his weapon. Amy lunged forward with speed that surprised even Krelthar. She grabbed the raider's arm before he could raise his gun, and Daniel pressed an injector against the exposed neck. The Skrin's eyes went wide, then unfocused. He slumped forward into Amy's arms. The other 2 raiders jumped up, shouting in alarm. Marcus tackled one while Daniel threw himself at the third. There was a brief, desperate struggle in the cramped tunnel space. Weapons clattered against metal walls. Someone grunted in pain. Then silence. All 3 Skrin lay unconscious on the tunnel floor. Daniel, breathing hard, checked each raider's pulse. They are alive.
Just sleeping. Help me move them. The humans dragged the unconscious raiders into a side passage and covered them with a tarp they found nearby. They would not be discovered immediately.
That was closer than I would have liked, Amy said, adjusting her armor where a raider had grabbed it. But it worked, Daniel replied. No alarm raised, no shots fired. No one dead. That is a win in my book. Let us keep moving. They continued deeper into the station, now reunited with Kevin and Lisa.
Krelthar tracked their progress toward the eastern dome, where 23 humans waited for rescue, surrounded by enemies and running out of time. The human team reached the access hatch leading into the eastern dome. Daniel knelt beside it and pressed his ear against the cold metal, listening for movement on the other side. After a long moment, he signaled the all-clear and carefully opened the hatch just enough to peer through. Krelthar adjusted his sensors to see what Daniel saw. The dome interior was a large open space that had once served as a research laboratory. Equipment stood in neat rows, scientific instruments and analysis stations covered with dust sheets. At the far end, a group of humans huddled together in a makeshift shelter built from overturned tables and storage containers. The colonists, 23 of them, just as the intelligence reports had indicated. Krelthar could see men, women, and children among them. Some appeared injured. All looked frightened and exhausted. 2 Skrin guards stood watch near the main entrance on the opposite side of the dome. They looked bored, occasionally glancing at their prisoners, but paying little attention to the rest of the space.
"Lisa, I count at least 3 injuries from here," Daniel whispered into his communicator.
One looks serious. Are you seeing what I am seeing? The medic had positioned herself to look through the gap. Yes. The man on the left, gray hair holding his side. That posture suggests broken ribs, possibly internal bleeding.
He needs immediate attention. Then we move fast.
Watson, Chen, can you handle those 2 guards without raising alarm?
Amy studied the guards carefully. Negative. Too much open space.
They will see us coming?
"We need a distraction. I can provide one," Kevin said.
He pulled a small device from his pack.
Noise generator. I can set it to activate in the western section of the station.
When the guards go to investigate, you make your move. Daniel nodded. Do it.
Everyone else, get ready to move the moment those guards leave.
Kevin programmed the device and handed it to Marcus, who backtracked through the tunnel to place it in the appropriate location. Krelthar watched the young soldier work quickly and efficiently, setting the device behind a junction box where it would not be easily found.
Device active,
Marcus reported. Triggering in 30 seconds. The team waited. Krelthar found himself waiting as well, though he could not explain why he felt invested in the outcome. These were just subjects of study. Their success or failure should not matter to him personally. Yet he discovered he was holding his breath as the countdown elapsed. A loud electronic squeal erupted from the western section of the station. The noise was harsh and rhythmic, like an alarm system malfunctioning. The 2 Skrin guards jerked to attention immediately. They exchanged quick words, then both moved toward the dome exit to investigate.
Now, Daniel ordered.
The team poured through the hatch and rushed across the open floor toward the trapped colonists. They moved in a tight formation, weapons ready but not raised. Amy reached the makeshift shelter first and held up her hands to show she was friendly. Mars Colonial Defense, she said quickly. We are here to get you out. Stay calm and stay quiet. The colonists reacted with a mixture of relief and fear. Some started crying. Others reached out to touch the rescuers, as if to confirm they were real. A woman grabbed Amy's arm and whispered desperate thanks. Daniel was already assessing the group, counting heads and evaluating their condition.
Lisa, priority treatment on the injured. Everyone else prepare these people to move.
We have maybe 2 minutes before those guards realized they were tricked. Lisa moved immediately to the gray-haired man who had been holding his side. She knelt beside him and opened her medical kit.
Sir, I am Sergeant Morgan. I am going to examine you.
Can you tell me where it hurts?
The man, his face pale and sweating, pointed to his left side.
Fell during the initial attack.
Something broke. Hurts to breathe. Lisa's hands moved with practiced skill, gently probing the injury through his clothing. Her expression grew concerned. Definitely broken ribs. Possible punctured lung. You need a hospital, but I can stabilize you for transport. She pulled out various medical supplies and began working. Meanwhile, Kevin and Marcus were helping other colonists to their feet. An elderly woman struggled to stand, her legs weak from sitting in one position too long. Marcus supported her gently, speaking soft words of encouragement. A young boy, perhaps 8 years old, clutched a worn stuffed animal and stared at the soldiers with wide eyes.
"Where is your father?"
Amy asked the boy kindly. The child pointed to a man sitting nearby, holding a makeshift bandage against his leg. Blood had soaked through the fabric. Amy moved to examine him while the boy watched anxiously. Krelthar observed all of this with growing confusion. The humans were splitting their attention between multiple colonists, treating injuries, offering comfort, even though every second increased their danger. A Viridian team would have grabbed the mobile colonists and left the injured behind. Resources had to be preserved. The strong survived, while the weak became unfortunate casualties. But these humans operated by different rules.
"We have a problem," Lisa said, looking up from her patient. "This man cannot walk. The injury is too severe."
Any significant movement might cause the broken rib to puncture his lung completely. He needs a stretcher and very careful handling. Daniel crouched beside her.
"How long to stabilize him enough for transport?"
5 minutes minimum, maybe longer.
"We do not have 5 minutes."
"Then we make time," Lisa said firmly.
"Because we are not leaving him behind." Daniel held her gaze for a moment, then nodded. "All right."
"Everyone else, prepare to move out. Watson, Chen, watch those entrances. Taurus, help me fashion a stretcher from whatever we can find here." Krelthar watched them work with increasing disbelief. They were choosing to stay in extreme danger for a single injured individual. The tactical computer on his console calculated their survival probability dropping with each passing second. Any moment, the Skrin guards would return and discover the escape attempt. "This is insanity," Severine said beside him. "They should take who they can carry and run. One life is not worth risking, 29 others." But the humans did not run. Daniel and Kevin quickly assembled a makeshift stretcher from a tabletop and some strapping material. They worked together smoothly, testing the strength of their construction before trusting it with a patient. Lisa continued treating the injured man, injecting medications and carefully wrapping his torso to prevent further damage. The young boy with the stuffed animal suddenly tugged on Amy's armor. "My dad," he said quietly, pointing to the wounded man Amy had been examining. "Is he going to be okay?" Amy knelt to the child's eye level.
"Your dad is hurt, but we are going to take care of him. I promise you we are not leaving anyone behind."
"Can you be brave for me and hold this medical pack?" The boy nodded seriously and took the pack Amy offered him. It gave him something to focus on besides his fear. Amy returned her attention to the father, finishing the bandage work on his leg wound. The man reached out and squeezed his son's hand, offering a weak smile of reassurance.
"Movement at the north entrance,"
Marcus reported suddenly.
"The guards are coming back."
Everyone froze. Daniel stood and raised his weapon, pointing it toward the doorway but not yet firing.
"How many?"
"Just the 2 we saw before, but they are going to reach that door in about 10 seconds. Daniel made his decision in an instant.
"Chen, Watson, with me. We hold them at the entrance. Everyone else continue prep for evacuation. We are not stopping now."
The 3 soldiers moved to defensive positions near the main entrance, using scientific equipment as cover. The rest of the team continued working with the colonists, though Krelthar could see the fear in their faces. They knew what was coming. The Skrin guards entered the dome still discussing the false alarm. They had walked 3 steps inside before they noticed the humans. For a moment, everyone simply stared at each other in shock. Then the Skrin reached for their weapons. "Drop them!" Daniel shouted, his rifle aimed at the nearest raider. drop your weapons and step back. We do not want to hurt you." The Skrin guards hesitated. They were outnumbered now, 3 human soldiers against 2 raiders, but pride and training made them reluctant to surrender. One of them started to raise his weapon anyway. Amy fired a single shot. The energy bolt struck the floor directly in front of the raider's feet, scorching the metal and sending up a small shower of sparks. The Skrin jumped back, startled but unharmed.
"That was a warning," Daniel said calmly. "The next shot will not be. Put down your weapons and you walk away from this alive."
Your choice. The 2 raiders exchanged glances.
Slowly, reluctantly, they set their weapons on the floor and raised their hands. Marcus moved forward quickly to secure the weapons and push them far out of reach.
"Hands behind your heads, on your knees," Amy ordered. The Skrin complied, clearly deciding that survival outweighed honor in this situation.
"Kevin, find something to restrain them," Daniel said. "Nothing painful, just effective. We are not barbarians." Krelthar noticed that phrase. "We are not barbarians." As if the distinction mattered during combat operations. As if showing mercy to enemies made any tactical sense. Kevin found some cable ties in a supply locker and secured the guards' hands behind their backs. He was not rough about it, simply efficient. The Skrin sat on the floor, bound but unharmed, watching their captors with a mixture of anger and confusion.
"All right, status report," Daniel said, never taking his eyes off the restrained guards. "Are we ready to move?" "The patient is stable for transport," Lisa replied. "But we need to move him very carefully on that stretcher." "The other colonists are ready," Marcus added, "though some will need assistance walking." The elderly woman and 2 others. Daniel calculated quickly. 6 soldiers, 23 colonists, several requiring physical assistance or stretcher transport. "And now we have alerted the entire station to our presence. This just got much more complicated." As if to confirm his words, an alarm suddenly blared throughout the station. The remaining Skrin had discovered the escape attempt. Within moments, the entire raider force would converge on their position. "Sir, we need to go now," Amy said urgently. "We are about to have very angry company." Daniel looked at the colonists, at his team, at the 2 captured guards sitting on the floor. His expression showed the weight of impossible choices. Then he touched his communicator. "Command, this is Hayes."
We have secured the colonists but are about to be surrounded, requesting immediate extraction at the Eastern Dome exterior access point.
"We need that pickup in less than 5 minutes or we are not making it out of here." The response crackled back through heavy static.
Negative, Hayes.
"No extraction assets available for 15 minutes minimum. You are on your own." Daniel closed his eyes briefly, then opened them with renewed determination. "Then we make our own exit."
"Everyone move now. We carry those who cannot walk."
We defend those who cannot fight, and we all go home together, or we do not go home at all."
Krelthar watched them begin their escape attempt, surrounded by enemies, burdened by injured and weak colonists, facing odds that no rational analysis gave them any chance of surviving. And he began to understand why he would regret watching humans in battle. The human team moved through the maintenance tunnels with desperate speed. Daniel led at the front, while Marcus brought up the rear, both scanning constantly for threats. Between them, the colonists struggled to keep pace. Kevin and another soldier carried the stretcher, bearing the gray-haired man with broken ribs. The elderly woman leaned heavily on Amy's shoulder. The young boy clutched his father's hand, while his father limped forward on his injured leg. Krelthar tracked their progress through the sensor network. Behind them, Skrin raiders poured into the Eastern Dome, discovering the escaped prisoners and their 2 captured companions. Angry shouts echoed through the station as the raiders organized pursuit.
"They are coming fast,"
Lisa reported, monitoring a scanner she carried.
"At least 20 signatures converging on our position. Keep moving. Daniel ordered. We reach the surface access point in 200 meters.
The transport is waiting there. But Krelthar could see what the humans could not yet see from their position underground. More Skrin forces had positioned themselves at the surface exit point. The raiders had learned the layout quickly and anticipated the escape route. The humans were running directly into an ambush. Should we warn them? Severine asked suddenly. Krelthar turned to stare at his assistant. Warn them? We are observers. We do not interfere. But they are about to walk into a trap. They will all be killed. That is not our concern. We document what happens. We do not change outcomes. But even as he spoke, Krelthar felt something uncomfortable in his chest. He had observed combat between dozens of species over his career. He had watched beings die in countless ways. He had never felt compelled to intervene before. Why did these humans affect him differently? In the tunnel, the group reached a junction point. Daniel held up his fist, signaling everyone to stop. He checked his tactical display, frowning at what he saw.
The exit is blocked,
he said quietly. Multiple contacts waiting at the surface. They knew where we were going. Can we fight through them? Marcus asked. The injured man on the stretcher, the elderly woman barely able to stand, the young boy with frightened eyes. The others, tired and scared, but trusting their rescuers to save them. Not without casualties, Daniel said, and I am not willing to accept casualties. There has to be another way. There is no other way, sir, Amy said gently. We are boxed in. Enemies ahead, enemies behind. We have to fight our way out, then we change the game, Daniel replied. He stood silent for a moment, thinking, then touched his communicator. This is Lieutenant Daniel Hayes of the Mars Colonial Defense Force, broadcasting on all frequencies. I am requesting to speak with whoever leads the Skrin forces at this station. His team stared at him in shock. Several of the colonists gasped. Even Krelthar leaned forward in surprise, wondering what strategy this could possibly represent. Static crackled for several seconds, then a harsh voice responded in broken but understandable human language. This is Commander Vrock. You have stolen my prisoners. You have attacked my guards. You will surrender immediately or be killed. Commander Vrock, I need to speak with you directly, not over the radio. Face to face. I believe we can reach an agreement that benefits both of us. Vrock laughed. A sound like grinding metal. You think to negotiate? You are surrounded. You have no leverage. I have something you want more than prisoners, Daniel said calmly. I have information that could save your people. Give me 5 minutes of your time. If you do not like what I have to say, you can kill us then just as easily as now. Silence. Krelthar watched his sensors, showing the Skrin forces had stopped advancing. They were waiting for their commander's decision. You have courage, human. I will give you that, Vrock finally said. Very well. Come to the main dome. Alone. Your people stay where they are. Any sign of treachery and everyone dies. You have my word on this. Sir, you cannot be serious, Amy protested. It is a trap. They will kill you the moment you walk in there. Daniel removed his helmet and looked at his team. Maybe, but maybe not. I am going to try something that might sound crazy. I am going to trust that they can be reasoned with. They are raiders, Marcus said. Murderers and thieves. There is no reasoning with them. Everyone is someone's child, Daniel replied softly. Everyone has reasons for what they do. I have to believe that. Because if I stop believing that, then what are we fighting for? He handed his rifle to Amy. Keep everyone safe while I am gone.
If I do not come back in 20 minutes, find another way out.
Before anyone could argue further, Daniel walked back the way they had come, moving through the tunnel toward the main dome where the Skrin waited. Krelfar switched sensors to follow him, fascinated and disturbed by this development. "He is going to get himself killed," Sivreen said. "This is foolishness beyond measure." But Krelfar said nothing. He watched Daniel emerge from the tunnel into the main dome where 30 Skrin raiders waited with weapons pointed at him. The human walked forward slowly, hands visible and empty, showing no fear despite being surrounded by enemies. A particularly large Skrin stepped forward. Commander Vrak, his armor decorated with symbols of rank and scavenged trophies from previous raids, he held a massive energy rifle casually across his chest.
"You are either very brave or very stupid, human," Vrak said.
"Maybe both," Daniel replied.
"Thank you for agreeing to talk. Talk is cheap. You said you have information that could help my people."
"Speak quickly before I decide this was a waste of time." Daniel took a breath. "I know why you are here."
"Why you raid human colonies and merchant ships. Your homeworld is dying."
"Your government used up all the resources and left your people to starve. You did not choose this life."
"You were forced into it."
Vrak's expression darkened. "You know nothing about us. I know desperation when I see it. I know what it looks like when someone has run out of options. You raid because you have to feed your families, because no one will trade with you legitimately. Because the alternative is watching your children starve." Several of the Skrin raiders shifted uncomfortably. Vrak raised one hand, silencing the murmurs that had started among his troops.
"Even if this is true, what do you propose? That you will give us charity? That humans will suddenly welcome us with open arms?" "Not charity," Daniel said.
"Trade? Work? A chance to earn what you need instead of taking it. The Mars colonies need labor. Skilled workers for construction, mining, agriculture. We need people willing to work hard in difficult conditions. You need food, medicine, supplies. We can help each other." Vrak laughed bitterly. "And why would humans trust us? We have raided your ships."
"We have taken your supplies. We are enemies."
"Because everyone deserves a second chance," Daniel said simply. "Because I would rather make a friend than kill an enemy. Because violence only creates more violence, and someone has to be brave enough to break that cycle." Krelfar found himself gripping the armrests of his chair. This conversation was unprecedented in his experience. Negotiating with raiders? Offering them legitimate work? The very concept violated every military doctrine he had ever studied.
"Your words are pretty," Brock said, "but words are wind."
"How do I know you have the authority to make such offers? You are one soldier." "You are right. I am one soldier. But I can put you in contact with people who do have authority. I can start the conversation. I can be the bridge between your people and mine, but only if you let me."
Only if you choose to try a different path. Vrak studied Daniel for a long moment.
The dome was completely silent. Every Skrin raider watched their commander, waiting to see what he would decide.
"And what of my men who you sedated in the tunnels?" Vrak asked. "What of the guards you captured?" "They are unharmed."
"Sleeping peacefully. They will wake with headaches, but nothing worse."
"I could have killed them easily. I chose not to." "Just as I am choosing now to talk instead of fight, you realize I could simply kill you and take what I want from your colonies anyway."
"You could," Daniel agreed.
But then you would still be running? Still hiding?
"Still stealing to survive. Is that what you want for your children?"
"To grow up as raiders?" never knowing peace or safety?
Always looking over their shoulders?
Something shifted in Vrock's expression. Pain, perhaps. Regret. Krelthar recognized it, because he had seen it in his own reflection sometimes, late at night when old memories surfaced. You speak of children, Vrock said quietly. I have 3 daughters. I have not seen them in 2 seasons because it is too dangerous to bring them on raids. They stay on our ship with the others too old or too young to fight.
They ask me when we can stop running, when we can have a home.
I have no answer for them. Daniel stepped closer, though doing so put him within easy striking distance of the massive raider. Then let me help you find that answer.
Let me give your daughters a chance at something better. All I ask is that you let us leave with these colonists.
They are not warriors. They are just people who were in the wrong place at the wrong time.
Release them as a sign of good faith, and I will personally guarantee that human authorities will hear your case. Vrock looked at his assembled raiders. Many of them had lowered their weapons slightly. They were listening. They were considering. The promise of something better than endless violence and theft had captured their attention.
How do I know this is not a trick? Vrock asked. How do I know you will keep your word?
Daniel reached slowly into his pocket and pulled out a small data chip. This has my personal identification codes, my contact information.
My commander's direct line. Everything you need to reach out through official channels.
I am giving you a way to contact human leadership directly. That is my commitment.
Take it or leave it. He held out the chip. Vrock stared at it for several heartbeats, then reached out and took it in his large clawed hand. You are either the bravest human I have ever met, or the most foolish, Vrock said. I have not decided which. Maybe I am both, Daniel said with a slight smile. So what do you say, Commander? Do we keep killing each other, or do we try something different? Krelthar held his breath, waiting. Beside him, Severine had gone completely still. Commander Vrock turned the data chip over in his large hand, examining it as if it might hold some hidden trap. Around him, his raiders watched in tense silence, hands still on weapons but no longer aiming them directly at Daniel. The human stood calmly, seemingly unafraid, despite being surrounded by 30 armed enemies. Finally, Vrock spoke. You offer us hope. Hope is a dangerous thing to give people who have learned to live without it.
If this is a lie, if you betray us, there will be consequences.
I understand, Daniel replied. But it is not a lie. I cannot promise it will be easy. There will be people on both sides who distrust this arrangement, but I can promise that I will do everything in my power to make it work. You have my word. Vrock made a sound that might have been a laugh or a sigh. The word of one human soldier. Such a small thing to base so much upon. He looked at his assembled troops. What do you say? Do we trust this human? Do we try his path? A younger Skrin Raider stepped forward. Commander, we have been running for 3 years. My mate died in a raid last season because we had no medicine to treat her wounds.
If there is even a chance of something better, we should take it. Another raider, older and scarred from many battles, spoke up. And if it is a trap?
If they use this chip to track us and send warships, then we fight as we always have, Vrock said. But I am tired of fighting. I am tired of watching my people die for scraps. This human could have killed my guards. He could have called for military strikes against us. Instead, he came here alone to talk.
That means something.
He turned back to Daniel. Very well. I accept your offer, human. We will release your colonists. We will withdraw from this station, and I will make contact using the information you have provided. But know this, if you betray my trust,
If this is some elaborate trap, I will spend the rest of my life making you regret it. Fair enough, Daniel said, extending his hand in the human gesture of agreement. Vrak stared at the offered hand for a moment, then reached out and grasped it. His large hand completely engulfed Daniel's, but he was careful not to squeeze too hard. The two leaders shook once, sealing their unlikely agreement. Krelthar sat in his observation chair, stunned. This was not how combat situations resolved. There should have been violence. There should have been casualties. The strong should have dominated the weak. Instead, two enemies had chosen to become something else. He did not have words for what he was witnessing.
Contact the colonists. Vrak ordered his troops. Tell them they are free to go.
Provide them with medical supplies for their injured. We are raiders, not murderers.
Let it not be said that the Skrin do not honor agreements. Several raiders moved to carry out the orders.
Vrak released Daniel's hand and stepped back.
Go to your people, human.
Take them and leave. We will not stop you. Daniel nodded gratefully.
Thank you, Commander. Someone from the Colonial Administration will contact you within 48 hours. I promise. We shall see if human promises mean anything, Vrak replied.
But there was less hostility in his voice now. Perhaps even a hint of hope. Daniel returned through the tunnels to where his team waited with the colonists. When he emerged into view, Amy rushed forward with obvious relief.
Sir, what happened? We heard voices but could not make out the words.
We talked, Daniel said simply.
And we reached an understanding. The Skrin are letting us go. More than that, they are providing medical supplies for our injured. Marcus looked skeptical.
Just like that?
They are just like that. We made an agreement.
One I intend to keep. Daniel looked at his team seriously. When we get back, I am going to need all of you to support what happened here. There will be people who say I was wrong to negotiate with raiders, people who say we should have fought.
But I believe there is a better way, and today we proved it.
Lisa stepped forward, her medical training making her focus on immediate needs.
Sir, if they are offering supplies, we need them.
The man with the broken ribs needs proper stabilization. Others need treatment I cannot provide here.
Then let us get everyone out of here, Daniel said.
True to Vrak's word, Skrin raiders met them at the surface exit with containers of medical supplies. The exchange was awkward, with both sides unsure how to interact as something other than enemies. But it happened without violence. Lisa gratefully accepted the supplies and immediately began using them to better stabilize her patients. The human transport landed nearby, and the colonists began loading aboard. The young boy with the stuffed animal paused at the boarding ramp and turned back to look at the Skrin raiders watching from a distance. He waved hesitantly. After a moment, one of the raiders waved back. Kevin helped the elderly woman up the ramp, supporting her gently.
You are safe now, ma'am. We are going home.
The woman patted his cheek with a trembling hand. Thank you, young man. Thank you all.
I thought we would die here. Not today, Kevin said with a smile.
Not on our watch. The gray-haired man on the stretcher looked up at Daniel as they carried him aboard. What you did back there? Talking to those raiders? That took guts. Real leadership. I just did what felt right, Daniel replied. Sometimes that is all you can do. Once all the colonists were safely aboard, the team performed a final check of the area and then boarded themselves. Daniel took one last look at Research Station Delta and the Skrin forces gathered there. Vrak stood at the entrance to the main dome, watching the humans depart. The two commanders exchanged nods across the distance, acknowledging the strange bond they had formed. The transport lifted off and turned toward the main colony base. Inside, Lisa worked steadily on the most seriously injured, using the screen medical supplies to better effect than her limited field equipment would have allowed. The colonists sat in quiet relief, some crying, others simply staring into space as the reality of their rescue sank in.
Mission accomplished, Amy said quietly to Daniel. 23 colonists extracted.
0 casualties on either side.
I still cannot believe we pulled that off. We pulled it off because we chose a different path, Daniel said. Because we remembered that our enemies are people too.
That was the key. High above in the cloaked observation ship, Kreltar sat in silence. His hands rested motionless on the control panel. His eyes stared at the viewing screen without really seeing it. Beside him, Severine shifted uncomfortably. "Should we continue observing them?" she asked quietly. Krelthar did not answer immediately. He thought about everything he had witnessed. The humans refusing to abandon their wounded. The humans choosing sedation over killing when they could have done either. The humans risking everything to save people they did not know. And most significantly, the humans extending mercy and opportunity to enemies who had every reason to be destroyed. "No," he said finally. "We have seen enough. More than enough."
"What will you tell the Empire?" Kreltar began deleting the report he had started days ago. The one that recommended humanity as a target for conquest.
The one that cataloged their weaknesses and suggested strategies for defeating them. He deleted every word and started over.
"I will tell them the truth," he said. "That I was ordered to watch humans in battle, and now I regret it."
"But why do you regret it?" Severine asked, confused.
"They succeeded. They showed impressive tactical ability and compassion. Should we not report this positively?"
Krelthar turned to face his young assistant. His expression carried weight that had not been there before.
"I regret it because it showed me something terrible about my own people, about myself."
"We have forgotten how to be what the humans still are." "What do you mean?" "Watch," Krelthar said, replaying footage of Lisa Morgan walking unarmed toward Skrin forces to offer medical aid. That medic risked her life to help enemies. She saw suffering and chose to heal it, regardless of whose side they were on. "Can you imagine a Viridian doing that?" Severine said nothing. "Watch," Krelthar continued, showing Daniel's negotiation with Vrock. That commander gave up tactical advantage to talk. He offered help to raiders who had stolen from his people. He saw desperation and chose compassion over revenge. Would the Empire ever make such a choice?
"The Empire would say it was weakness," Severine admitted quietly.
Exactly. And that is why I regret watching them.
Because now I cannot unsee what they showed me. The Viridian Empire calls itself strong.
"We conquer worlds. We dominate lesser species.
We take what we want and justify it as the natural order. But the humans showed me what real strength looks like." Krelthar stood and walked to the viewing screen, placing one hand against it. Below, Mars turned slowly in the black void of space, human colonies glittering like small jewels on its rust-colored surface.
"Real strength is choosing mercy when you could choose violence," he said softly. "Real strength is believing that your enemies deserve a chance at redemption.
Real strength is being willing to sacrifice yourself so that others might live. The humans have this strength."
We do not. We have forgotten it, if we ever had it at all.
He turned back to Severine. "So yes, I regret watching them. Because now I must write a report that will make me very unpopular with Imperial Command. I must tell them that if we go to war with humanity, we will not just lose battles. We will lose something far more important. What will we lose? The chance to become better than what we are."
The humans are not perfect. They have flaws and make mistakes.
but they have something we desperately need to learn from. They remember that strength and compassion are not opposites. They remember that every life has value. They remember how to hope.
Krelthar began typing his new report. His words were careful and precise, detailing everything he had observed.
But his conclusion was radically different from what he had expected to write. Recommendation, he typed.
The Viridian Empire should initiate peaceful first contact with humanity immediately, not as conquerors.
Not as superior beings guiding primitives, but as students hoping to learn from teachers.
Because humanity has something we have lost, something we need desperately to regain before it is too late.
He attached all his recordings and sensor data to the report. Then he encrypted it and sent it directly to the Imperial Council. There would be consequences for such a recommendation. Likely severe ones. But Krelthar found he did not care anymore. What will happen now? Severine asked.
I do not know, Krelthar admitted. The Council might accept my recommendation. They might reject it and order my removal. They might send a conquest fleet anyway.
But at least I will have tried. At least I will have told the truth about what I saw. He looked at the screen one more time, watching the human transport carrying Daniel Hayes and his team back to their base. All 23 colonists were safe. The Skrin Raiders had a chance at legitimate survival. And one Viridian observer had learned that the universe was more complex than he had ever imagined.
I was ordered to watch humans in battle, Krelthar said quietly, and I will regret it for the rest of my life.
Not because of what they did wrong, but because of what they did right. They held up a mirror to my species, and I did not like what I saw reflected there. He sat back in his chair and closed his eyes, feeling older than his years. Somewhere far below, humans continued living their lives, building their colonies, raising their children, choosing hope over despair and compassion over cruelty. And one alien observer sat in darkness above them, forever changed by what he had witnessed, forever haunted by the knowledge that his people had forgotten how to be what humans still were. Perhaps it was not too late to remember. Perhaps the humans could teach them. Perhaps there was still hope. But first, someone had to be brave enough to ask for help. Someone had to be brave enough to admit weakness. Someone had to be brave enough to say that there was a better way. Krelthar opened his eyes and looked at Severine.
Prepare the ship for departure. We have delivered our report. Now we wait to see if the Empire has the wisdom to listen. And if they do not, then we will have done our duty anyway.
Sometimes that is all we can do. The humans taught me that today. The observation ship turned silently in space and began its journey home, carrying with it a message that might change everything, or might change nothing. But it had been sent, and that was what mattered. Far below, in a medical bay on Mars Colony 7, Daniel Hayes sat with his team while doctors treated minor injuries. The mission had been a success. Everyone had come home. Amy Watson approached him quietly.
Sir, Command wants a full debriefing.
They are going to ask a lot of questions about why you negotiated with Raiders.
Let them ask, Daniel said calmly. I will answer honestly. We saved lives today. All the lives, not just the ones we were sent to rescue. That is worth defending.
Some people will say you were soft, that you should have eliminated the threat.
Some people will say that, Daniel agreed. And they will be wrong, because eliminating threats is easy.
Building bridges is hard, and I believe in doing hard things if they might make the universe a little better.
Amy smiled.
For what it is worth, sir, I think you did the right thing. Thank you, Watson. That means a lot. The young boy with the stuffed animal walked over, his father beside him, leg properly bandaged now. The boy looked up at Daniel with serious eyes. Mr. Soldier, thank you for saving us. And thank you for not killing those aliens. My dad says you showed them mercy." Daniel knelt to the boy's level.
"What is your name, son?"
"Tommy."
"Well, Tommy, I want you to remember something.
Being strong does not mean being cruel. Being brave does not mean being violent. Real courage is choosing kindness when anger would be easier. Can you remember that?" Tommy nodded solemnly.
I will remember. Good.
"Now go be with your family. You are all safe now." As the boy walked away with his father, Kevin Torres approached Daniel. "Sir, do you really think the scrin will reach out? That this could actually work?" "I hope so," Daniel replied. "I have to hope so, because hope is what separates us from the darkness."
Hope is what makes us human.
And far above, in a cloaked ship heading into deep space, an alien observer thought about those words and realized they applied to everyone, not just humans.
Hope was universal. Compassion was universal. The capacity for change was universal. The only question was whether beings would choose to embrace these things or turn away from them. Krelfar had made his choice. He had chosen to believe. Now he had to wait and see if his empire would choose the same. The story ended, not with victory or defeat, but with possibility. With the chance that two species who should have been enemies might become something else, might become examples of what the universe could be if enough beings were brave enough to try. And that, Krell thought as his ship jumped to faster than light speeds, was worth regretting. Worth regretting that he had ever believed strength meant cruelty. Worth regretting that he had ever thought conquest was more important than compassion. He had been ordered to watch humans in battle. And he would spend the rest of his life grateful that he had, even as he regretted what it revealed about himself. Because sometimes, being shown you are wrong is the first step toward becoming right. And that was a journey worth taking, no matter how difficult the path ahead might be.